told me the other day, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a pun, but I think, you know, it's something that I think a lot of young people are really like. They really want to kind of make money fast. It doesn't exist. I'll tell you now, it does not exist in business. Maybe there are the occasional kind of, I don't know, crypto hacks or, you know, whatever it is, right? And you get lucky, but quick money doesn't exist. You want to build a brand, it takes time. It's a 4 to 5 year play. I've learned the hard way. You know, I've learned through painful mistakes, failure. I had an eyewear brand that didn't go so well, and I've learned the hard way. And that's why I think your podcast resonates with me, because you're trying to share with other people, right? And I didn't have anyone growing up like that could tell me, oh, don't do this, don't do that, you know. And even not even growing up, like, you know, I did my eyewear brand when I was 20, 27, 28, right? So I was into my business career, but I made silly mistakes, right? And those mistakes can be costly, you know. But I've now got those learnings, right? And it's all about focus. You got to be in your business, on your business, living, breathing it. Don't get distracted. It's really easy to go, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, you know, and something else comes up. This isn't quite working. You feel like, oh, this is like really difficult, I'm going to try something else. No, you got to keep at it. You got to keep going. There will be a point where you have to kind of draw a line and go, actually, this isn't working. And that's really important, I think, to have people around you that are going to tell you that as well.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Minted Minds podcast. This is now episode number 8. I'm here with a tech entrepreneur who has multiple businesses or runs multiple businesses. We'll get into that. Revenues going over into the millions. So we have Asad Hamir.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. No, thank you for making time. So we're just gonna get stuck in. We're just gonna go straight in.
It's the best way.
So I know you're an optometrist.
Yes.
I always get tongue twisted with that. I don't know why. So what sort of got you into business?
Sure. So families from East Africa, so from Tanzania, Uganda. So all came here in the 70s, and that was the time where, you know, everyone had written no blacks, no Asians, no dogs, right? So there's no jobs for them. So they all went into business. So my mum actually was the only one in the family with an education. So she did optometry at university, and they started a chain of opticians, and the whole family got involved in it. So I think we got up to a chain of about 6 stores, and it was great because, you know, all the cousins, everyone got their education through it. All the kind of uncles and aunties, you know, bought their houses, all that kind of stuff. But I grew up in that household, where you don't eat unless you earn it, right?
Oh, wow.
So seeing that from a young age, working in the opticians, you know, like filling out the record cards and, you know, things like that. You know, I remember I used to get free lunch if I cleaned all the glasses and stuff like that. So,
what age was this?
Like from the age of 7, 8.
Okay, so you started working quite early on.
Yeah, just like going there on weekends and, you know, like,
out.
you know, the office, right? The office, there was no office, it was the shop, right? So you'd go in and try and help out. So being part of a family business where you're surviving, basically, through that business, like, I think, you know, leaves an imprint on your life, obviously from a young age. So therefore, when I went into university and things like that, I always had that hustle to myself. I used to trade stuff even at college. I trade CDs and DVDs and things like that. And then at uni, I used to trade phones. And that's where I got my love for tech. My dad was actually an electrical engineer. So he used to bring computers home all the time to our house and always open them up. And I used to love seeing the insides of that. So I always had this kind of love for tech. And I was always the kind of geek in the family and stuff like that. So, and then third year university. So my mum actually said, I actually told my parents that for some reason I had it in my head I wanted to be an accountant. It was actually one of my uncles who was an accountant, and I really liked his style and how he did things and stuff. And so I got into my head I wanted to be an accountant, but my mum said no, do optometry. It's a safe career. At the time, you could earn a couple of £100 a day, like freelancing. And even if you don't like it at the end, you can always go and do something else.
You got something to fall back on.
Something to fall back on. Exactly. Very Asian way of kind of thinking, right? So did the degree, but in my third year university, I saw the iPhone launch. So it was 2007. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
And Steve Jobs got up on stage, and all the rumor mill was out, and he kind of goes, welcome to iPhone, or whatever he said.
It's like a massive thing.
Yeah, and that product just blew my mind, and I felt like I was already selling phones and things, but you could see that industry was going to become big.
Yeah.
So I finished my degree. I actually worked for a year with my mum because in the family business and stuff, and then started in the telecoms arena. So approached O2 actually, who had the exclusivity on the iPhone at the time, and became an O2 partner essentially. And I could just see that I could sell a lot of this stuff just to my friends, family. I was quite naive at the time.
So just to take it back a little bit, you've just graduated uni.
Yeah.
You've worked for a year with your mom, and then you decided to approach O2.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. So what happened? What sparked the idea?
Yeah.
How did you get the courage to sort of, what did you say to O2 for them to sort of?
I guess when you're 21, 22, you don't think these things through, to be honest.
Okay.
I just remember the iPhone was launched and O2 had the exclusivity.
Okay.
And they had opened up a partner program because they were looking to roll out their retail estate.
Okay.
I knew retail, so I was like, I could do this.
Yeah.
I then looked into the commercials. So first things first, you have to submit they send you a pack and they send you the commercials and things. I looked at the commercials. I was like, okay, there's money in this. And look, I was very naive, obviously going into it.
Yeah.
I love tech, right? And I knew it was actually funny because my local community centre, which we're from a community called Kojas, and our Koja community it's very close, yeah. And so an average night we'll get 3,000 people there, yeah, to on a big night, yeah. And in that centre, the only mobile phone network that worked was O2.
Yeah.
So it was almost like the stars were aligning here, right? I had iPhone, had the O2 networks. I was like, okay, worst comes to worst, I could just sell it to my community.
Yeah.
So then I went and pitched to O2. I had to write a business plan. So in between doing my eye tests as an optometrist, I would write this business plan, and I did a 100-page document. And I still remember going pitching. Night before the pitch, I couldn't sleep. I was that excited.
Yeah.
When I did the pitch, and they were just blown away because there's this 22-year-old just coming in and this huge business plan, how I'm gonna strengths, weaknesses, how I'm gonna approach the market, all that kind of stuff. And all the other guys that were on the program were a lot more experienced, a lot more kind of older than me, but I guess they saw the energy in me, and that was my break, I guess, very early. And then from there, the business kind of took off. So that was the start anyway.
No, that's quite interesting, and I like the fact that you sort of just went head first by the sounds of it. Because I remember when I first was even talking about starting my own business, because I was working full time at the time, and I gave him my notice, and literally everyone was coming up to me saying how are you just gonna leave your full time job and just go head first and start a business, and how do you know how to run a business? And I think everyone sort of, especially at the beginning, everyone is naive to business, and I think it kind of gives us a sort of an advantage because, I always say to my friends that if I knew how hard it was going to be, especially in the first year or 2 years, I don't know if I would have actually took the plunge to start the business. So I think that kind of naivety was kind of a good thing.
Yeah. But I think just one thing to say, just looking back on it, actually a lot of what I do now, I did then. So where I did my due diligence, I did my business case, I did my financial modeling,
Okay.
I had worked out my worst case scenario. What if this happens? So I had almost de-risked it in my mind.
Okay. Okay.
So in that sense, even though I was kind of going head first into it, I'd also like thought of the worst case scenario and what I would do in that scenario from a business point of view.
So what made you take those actions? What made you sort of think, okay, before I take, the step into sort of approaching O2 and starting that business, let me sort of take out the risk factors?
I don't know. I mean, I think I've always been numbers driven. Yeah. So like A levels and stuff, I was always good at maths and things like that. So I guess just maths and always been numbers. And I think also like seeing the family struggle and things like that at times as well probably has influenced it. So having that diligence from young age, I guess. I don't know. I mean, but that's kind of stayed with me. It kind of something that I'll always that's what I believe is really important with anyone starting a business is having your numbers and being really diligent on those numbers and really understanding the numbers. And the beauty of the industry that we live in, or the world we live in now through digital, you can go down to the cost per click and your e-commerce conversion rate, and you can really get into like whether a business is going to be viable almost before you even get going. Of course, there's the execution risk of how good you are in marketing and how good you are with certain things, how resourceful you are. But you can actually business plan, before you even spend a pound, right? So the world's quite different to when I think now when I look back on it now, like bloody hell, that was a risk, right? Yeah. But I had thought through it as well. So it's interesting.
Interesting. And okay, so we've said we know that you're a tech entrepreneur. What sort of businesses are you running? Are you running any one specific businesses or multiple businesses? Let's talk about what sort of businesses are you involved in?
So I think I started off in the O2 kind of reseller business, effectively selling phones. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
So phones, contracts, iPads, even today, if you need a good deal, I can sort you out. So that gave me a really good schooling and understanding in selling, scaling business, managing people, all that kind of stuff. And then from there, I've kind of firstly I scaled that business, and now we've got 80 people in that business. Yeah.
So you started this business from the ground up.
Yeah, starting the business from the ground up. It's effectively a sales business. Using an O2 contract that we have, and we have O2 franchise stores. We have a direct sales team. We have a telesales team, and we acquire and look after O2 customers. Yeah.
Is this still under the O2 brand, or is this a separate brand that you've created that uses O2?
So we've got both. So we've got the O2 brand, which is the franchise aspect, and then we have our own brand. Okay. So and then through that we're acquiring business customers or consumer customers and things like that. So that's one business, and that's like my cash cow essentially. Okay. That's if you think of like a portfolio, this is my low risk in my portfolio. Okay. Then I have businesses which I invest in, which are basically connected to this space, around technology, but businesses which I invest in where I see massive growth potential. And having been in the market for 10, 11 years now, I know where those growth markets are. So there's certain areas which I'm looking to invest in. And so when those kind of founders come along, I try and catch them early, or even help them start, invest in, use my expertise, use my industry contacts, and really help propel their businesses. So like OcuShield, for example, invested in it early. It was doing a couple of £100,000 turnover. Now it's doing, in excess of £2.5 million. And we're looking to really kind of build on that from here. And then I've got some things also which I own and operate, which is like my mobile accessory brand called Nolii. So it's a bit of a mix, and it's a portfolio approach. So Nolii is a higher risk, high intellectual property value as well. So if that comes off, it'll be off to the races, right? If the investments come off, then again, but they're kind of mid-risk as well, because I'm not investing when they're starting.
Okay.
I'm investing once they have started. And
so Nolii is an investment.
Nolii is basically a startup that I started.
That you started yourself.
Correct.
Okay.
So it is that portfolio approach. Some things I'm doing myself.
Okay.
Some things I'm investing in.
Okay.
But it's kind of a mix of high risk, medium risk, low risk.
Okay. And so Nolii is one of the high risks.
Nolii is one of the high risks. Yeah.
Okay. So when and for the audience that maybe may not understand sort of these terms in regards to like investments and stuff.
Yeah.
What is considered to be a high risk? Why is Nolii a high risk? I know you said in regards to the sort of the intellectual property and stuff like that, but if you could maybe dig a little deeper into sort of why is that compared to sort of your cash cow, like you said, why is that low risk compared to this?
Sure. So Nolii, we're trying to do something different.
Okay.
Yeah? So we're trying to take the tech accessories industry and trying to create a business model where both products are more design led, more colorful. We're trying to simplify the market. So these are new ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're untested really, because people buy tech accessories in a certain way today. Yeah.
Okay.
If I need a charging cable, I'm going to go on Amazon, buy an Amazon Basics for £5 or whatever. Yeah. Because it's a need. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a want.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're trying to do with Nolii is create the want. Right.
Okay.
But at the same time, bring that functional aspect. So we're trying to build a direct consumer brand in that space. Yeah, slightly higher price point than Amazon Basics. So we're like instead of a £6 USB-A to Lightning, we're £13.
Okay.
So we're still in that impulse price point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a much more higher consideration product. So our thing is our product's going to last you longer. Yeah,
okay.
They're going to be of a better quality. They're going to be aesthetic. They're colorful. So we're looking to change those behaviors. Now, when you're trying to change behaviors,
that's a tough task, isn't it?
That's a tough task.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, requires more investment, more marketing, getting people to buy into your brand, right? So that's a higher risk investment, right? Because you're doing something new.
Would you say, like it says, because this is something, it's quite interesting because like you said, the product itself is something that we all need. But you're trying to take it to a point where people are sort of going out their way to sort of purchase your product.
Right.
Do you feel as if the product itself is very important as much as the brand, or is the branding? I'm assuming branding obviously takes a sort of a big sort of plays a big aspect in this business.
Yeah.
How have you guys tackled the sort of branding aspect? Because I know,
Sure.
I've had a look on the social media. And it's quite aesthetically pleasing. Is there anything that you guys are doing that's probably different to anyone else?
Sure. So it's been 7 months since we kind of started.
Okay.
But if I rewind, actually, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
Because actually before that, what we did was I knew this was high risk. Yeah. So I wanted to de-risk some of it. So the idea was to throw out some of the ideas before we launched it. So we did a couple of London design festivals where we actually put the products into the hands of people that would be our potential end customers, creatives, designers, people who have a high discerned taste, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got really positive feedback. But also through that positive feedback, we built a bit of a community, yeah? And through that community, we were able to pre-sell, also sell on day one. So we started to get, a bit of revenue coming in. Yeah. It's not everything that we probably needed, but actually it helped de-risk some of the product. But that piece of work we did almost unintentionally was branding, right? It's branding and community building. I think we're living in a world now with social media and digital that you have to build your brand community first, and that's what we're trying to do with Nolii. I think the art of the product with us is to do that. The magic in the Nolii product is to take a everyday product and do one or two things that a little bit better, yeah, but at the same time have the right unit economics in there so that you're making a healthy margin. Yeah, you can ship it easily, you can make the right margins when it lasts, you're not having to replace the product. So it's a cocktail between all of these things. Of course, you need a great product, right? You need a product because otherwise people are not going to buy it, right? And you can market it. You can have a product which is marketed well, but you ain't going to last then, right? Because you might get a few sales at the beginning because you're good at marketing, but actually, 6 months, 9 months down the line, people are going to tell you that your product's not good enough, right? And you'll get found out. So you need a good product. You need good marketing. But marketing, my belief now, is all about community building. So you've got to build those communities, really engage and, build those relationships with customers, because those distribution channels have changed as well, right? So, we're in London today, looking around, there's not that many people on the streets, retail's declined. So, those traditional retail channels like, stocking in Selfridges, stocking in mobile network stores, things like that, they're not as lucrative as they were. Okay. So actually the money, it's not the money's gone, right? The money's just moved, right? The money's moved to different channels, right? And actually people are spending more, right? We already know that from all the data's out there. So they're spending more online. So it's just activating it in the right areas. So if with Nolii, we're trying to build it direct. So for us to answer the question in a long-winded way, it is about brand and marketing now. Now we've got it out there. It's about building that brand, but still continuing that product journey as well.
Like you said, the money's still out there. People are still buying things. People are probably spending more than they were before, especially on things like this. And I'm assuming, so are you guys direct to consumer? Is it all online at the moment? Yeah. So you're not in any stores or anything like that?
So we're doing a little bit of distribution, testing the market more than anything. But actually the next step for us now is how do we do much more direct? Yeah. Okay. So not just online. Do we actually look at our own physical spaces? So we're actually looking at opening a retail store for Nolii the next few weeks actually.
Oh really?
Yeah. So we're going to be opening in Box Park in Shoreditch.
Oh wow. Okay.
So so it's a really interesting new concept that and it brings to life the aesthetic of Nolii into a physical environment. Nolii is a tactile product. You've got to play with it. You've got to, something happens to people when they touch it and they feel those textures. And we've actually, a lot of the textures also we've built around London. So we, whether it's the stone finishes of the Barbican or like even the escalator panel on the tube, some of the soft finishes. So we've really kind of considered all these kinds of like touch points, because once you start, my belief is with products, it's about activating more than one sense. Okay. So it's not just the visual, it's the kinesthetic, it's the, the only thing it hasn't got is the smell. So that's next. Yeah, that's next.
So what this reminds me of is there's two other brands that come into mind, and one is Gymshark. And the reason why I say Gymshark is because they also went direct to consumer. From what I know, I don't think you could purchase any sort of Gymshark products in sort of any other stores. No. So, and I'm definitely that was purpose. That was done on purpose, which is what you guys are also doing, I'm assuming. And Apple. Because before the Apple stores, I think the phone shops, they were quite standard, weren't they? And then Apple came in and they always used to bring something different. Is this what you guys are trying to do? Like always bring something different, always trying to go sort of over the top in regards to sort of the experience of the whole thing?
Yeah, so firstly, I mean, both of those are like behemoths of brands, right? Even Gymshark have gone off to the races.
Yeah, they've done really well.
Yeah. So we're very, very early. I think what we're trying to do is really build that relationship around that customer. Yeah, and make that experience as like amazing as possible, every single touch point. Because if we can own that customer, then over time they're going to change their tech, change their MacBook, change their phone. They're going to lose that phone cable. Like they're going to need this stuff. We're already seeing it in our data that people are repeat purchasing. Yeah. So my belief is that build a great customer base, you will get the revenue long term. Right. And that's something I've learned just from seeing my mum and how she did it in her opticians business. Yeah. It's all about like healthcare opticians. It's all about healthcare and all about looking after people. Right, and it's the same principle here. Like we got to build a community that we look after, and if we look after them, then we're gonna be able to. They're gonna buy more stuff off us, right? And ultimately they've got choices, right? How many choices have they got? So many cables and chargers and
you should see my bag. You probably have a nightmare looking at my bag.
I mean that's where it started with me. There was, it's actually on the website, like there's a picture of my bag where where I started this, and it's just full of stuff, right? All looks exactly the same, black and white. And
you were probably cringing at my bag when I pulled it up, and you were probably thinking,
no, you're good. We'll get you converted to the Nolii way of doing things. But honestly, like I think the key thing is look after your customer. That's it doesn't matter if you've only got at this point 10 customers, look after them. Like we have a B2B business called Click, right?
Okay.
And it's a refurbished technology business. So what we do is we provide sustainable tech to businesses. So we will, like you got a MacBook there, instead of buying a new MacBook, you can buy a refurbished MacBook. We put the MacBooks through an intensive kind of refurbishment process, so that when you buy it almost like a new, and we give you a 1 guarantee, plus you save up to 60% on the price. So we're trying to change that mindset of businesses from buying new, because that's what they always go to, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But actually their employees want them to be more sustainable. So there's a bit of a conflict there. So as we've started to educate our customers and build that relationship with them, we're seeing the benefits now. Now they're hiring. We haven't got that many customers. We've probably got like a couple of hundred, right? But we're getting that repeat purchase every day. Every day there's a new device coming in from that person. And if we didn't provide that service at the beginning, and it's the problem in this tech and telecoms industry is it's full of really poor service.
Okay.
And that's something that I spotted, coming in from the healthcare side of things. So something in any of my businesses, no matter what innovation or whatever we do, service is the number one thing.
It's funny because you're saying all these things, and I consume a lot of content online, and I watch things from like Jeff Bezos interviews, and there's another YouTube channel called The Future, and they always talk about these different principles, and whenever you're saying these points, I'm always thinking, that's what he said, and that's what he said. So it's very interesting that you've managed to kind of sort of bring it all together, and you're applying it to sort of all the businesses that you're doing. So I've
learned the hard way. I've learned through painful mistakes, failure. I had an eyewear brand that didn't go so well. And I've learned the hard way. And that's why I think your podcast resonates with me, because you're trying to share with other people, right? And I didn't have anyone growing up like that could tell me, don't do this, don't do that. And even not even growing up, I did my eyewear brand when I was 20, 27, 28, right? So I was into my business career, but I made silly mistakes, right? And those mistakes can be costly, But I've now got those learnings, right? And so for me, I just love it, if I can spot that person that's going to make that same mistake again, right? That's what I do in my investments now as well. My role in my investments is not to just give money, it's to provide strategic value, right? So it's about, seeing and spotting if that founder is going to make that silly mistake, and showing them why they shouldn't do that, right?
And that comes from years of experience and doing it all yourself and sort of grafting all the way up.
I'm lucky, right? I started in business at 22. I'm 35 now. 13 years business experience at this age, I think is quite good. But someone told me the other day, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And that's a bit of a pun, but I think it's something that I think a lot of young people are really like. They really want to kind of make money fast. It doesn't exist. I'll tell you now, it does not exist in business. Maybe there are the occasional kind of crypto hacks or whatever it is, right? And you get lucky, but quick money doesn't exist. You want to build a brand, it takes time. It's a 4 to 5 year play. Of grafting, sweating, sleepless nights. It's not for the faint-hearted business, it's not easy, and it's not for everyone.
I'm so glad you said that, because social media, you know, we're all on social media. We all consume the content that everyone's putting out there. And I mentioned this earlier offline, where we all put the good parts of our life on there. You know, the highlights, the awards, the new businesses and things like that. And sort of it kind of puts, especially the younger generation, into this mind frame where they need to achieve what you've probably achieved over 10, 15 years of business. They expect that now.
Yeah.
And this is one of the dangers of social media, I think. Is, you know, we always compare our lives to other people. And what they don't realize is all the years of sacrifice, the ups and downs, you know, the late nights, the sleepless nights. And like you said, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And it really resonates with me because so I've got a business which is a dessert shop, and a lot of my staff are quite young. They're sort of part-timers there. Some are still studying. And one of the things that I've realized by having, you know, numerous conversations with these guys is they expect things so quick. They don't understand that, one, you have to be patient, but the amount of hard work that you need to put in to achieve what you want to achieve, especially in business, is a lot. If you had to give a piece of advice to someone that's probably in their early 20s, probably graduating uni and thinking about whether they want to pursue a career in what they've graduated in, or if they want to start a business, maybe they've had an idea, or because, you know, we all have ideas, and we always talk to our friends about starting businesses and things like that. Whether they follow through with it or not, that's a different story. But what piece of advice would you give to that person?
So when I started in business, there wasn't social media or like content like there is today, and there wasn't that ability to reach someone easily as it is today. Right. So my first bit of advice would be speak to people and learn from as many people as possible. Not all the content you'll see out there will be 100% correct, so don't take everything as face value. But speak to people with experience in your sector, that you're looking to launch your business in, and learn from them and show them your idea. Don't be afraid to show it, because if it's a great idea, then only you're going to be the one that's going to be able to execute it. Not everyone's going to try and copy you or things like that. So be open about those things, but learn from other people, because you don't have the experience. And I think what's really important is it's closing that gap between starting and operating a business. And the idea does not mean a business. Having a first few 10, 20 customers doesn't mean a business. And that kind of feeds into my next piece of advice is, once you start making some money, don't get carried away. Turn that first bit of business into those first customers into a business, into something that can scale. Because a business is something that lasts it's got that timelessness. It's there in 2 to 3 years. It's there in 5 years. It's there, something that's you're going to be able to generate value. Value can be two ways. It can be financial return and profit on a month-by-month basis, or you could be building something to exit at some point in the future. My investments are like that. Some of them are profit, some of them are value creation. And I'm less worried about the profit today, but I'm more worried about the profit long term. So second bit of advice, build a business. Don't get excited about ideas. Third bit of advice, focus. It's all about focus. You got to be in your business, on your business, living, breathing it. Don't get distracted. It's really easy to go, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, and something else comes up. This isn't quite working. You feel like, this is like really difficult. I'm going to try something else. No, you got to keep at it. You got to keep going. There will be a point where you have to kind of draw a line and go, actually, this isn't working. And that's really important, I think, to have people around you that are going to tell you that as well. But I think focus is really, really important. And then final thing is just, you got to work really, really hard. Like it is hard. Like it is weekends. It is Monday to Friday. But with that, I think if you're gonna stay with this long term, you got to look after yourself. And you got to have balance in life, right? So you've got to have a nice balance of family. It doesn't mean working 20-hour days and things like that. It's about being smart, right? And it's eating well, exercising well, all those things. Those things pulled together will give you a career over a long period of time. And that's what I pay a lot of attention to now. Probably didn't in my early days. I remember first 5-7 years I used to eat KFC every day and all that kind of stuff.
That's me now.
so whereas now I'm like, actually I look after my health, I look after my food. Probably doesn't look at still quite fat, but I feel the difference. It's Friday and I feel like I got energy still. I used to come to Friday, I'm like dead. So I think look after yourself. Because what you're gonna do with the money if you make it. If you're like ill, who's gonna? The whole point is you make wealth, you create wealth. You got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it for you and your family. You got to be there for them.
That's what they're saying. Health is wealth.
Absolutely.
We spend our health when we're younger making money. And then when we do have the money when we get older, we use that money to get our health back. So it's just kind of like this vicious circle. So fair point.
And the fact that you accumulated some wealth means that you can spend a bit more on your health. You got things that you got access to things maybe that other people don't, right?
You're running multiple businesses, or you've got your hands in at least multiple businesses. How do you do it? Like how is one person like yourself able to sort of have your hands in so many different sort of businesses?
Tough, really tough. And I'm always reinventing how I do it, because it's always not working and working sometimes and not working, and you're always having to, it's like a game of chess, you're having to move things around. Ultimately what you need to do as a founder is the biggest commodity that you lack is time. You don't have enough time. Time just goes away from you. Even I think to myself, I'm going to go home, eat some food and do a little bit of work. I just get home, have some food, and I'm like feeling sleepy, I'm just going to go to sleep. And then you're like, I'll wake up tomorrow morning, and that doesn't happen because you get some calls coming in and things like that. So the biggest thing you need to do is buy yourself time. And I do that by having a really good EAPA, which helps with that. So manage my diary, be brutal on that, set days for meetings, set days for time away from meetings to work. So that's really key. I think below that, the team that I've got, senior team that are senior enough to execute but also strategize, so not all the kind of thinking is therefore reliant on me. I'm there to guide, not to do everything from strategy to execution, but I've got to that point now where I can do that, right? So I've built some scale which allows me to invest in that team. I think those two are the key things. I think just finally you got to be brutal with your time. I just want to underline that point, because that's the only way you're going to be able to be focused on multiple ventures. We all have the same 24
hours, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. And you can do more, but you need a fantastic team, and you need time for yourself.
Something you said, and this is something that I struggle with, is sometimes I feel like I want to do everything. Like I want to do it all myself. They'll say there's working on your business and there's also working in your business. Me, I'm the type of person that I like to really get stuck in. I like to really get involved, but then that kind of sort of other aspects of the business might sort of suffer in regards to the actual running of the business, negotiating, marketing, and that side of things, rather than I liked web design, and now I find myself really get stuck in, because I enjoy that. That's the part I really enjoy. But I also enjoy running the business. I also enjoy marketing the business, working with clients. So how does one sort of manage their time better? Because I know you said you've got a PA, but not everyone can afford maybe a PA. What is there any sort of techniques? Is there anything that you might prioritize more than something else, or?
So for me, it's really simple. Yeah. Okay. Where am I going to deliver the most financial return?
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where I focus my time. So I'm not going to deliver better financial return worrying about some order that's gone wrong. Yeah. I do not give a shit. Yeah. I love my customers, right? But that's why I empower the team for, right? Okay. And if they get it wrong, that's their fault, right?
Yeah.
And I will be demanding of those things, right? Because my customer is my most important thing to deliver my return. But where I'm going to deliver my return is by sales and marketing. Yeah. Okay. So that's where I tend to focus my time, or that's where I want to spend majority of my time. And if anything is interfering with that, I get rid of it. Yeah. Because that is, I need to focus on that. Yeah. If I'm not focusing on that, I'm not growing in my business. Yeah. I don't want to be dealing with operations. I don't want to be dealing with any of that kind of stuff. Right. That is for me hygiene, and it just needs to happen. Yeah. But I want to be focusing on sales and marketing. That's my key thing. So part of that will be design, part of that will be product, part of that will be, those, because those all kind of make up sales and marketing. Part of that will be pitching to people. Part of that will be managing my sales team. All of that stuff is sales and marketing. Part of it could be website, part of it could be any of those things. So I think the main thing I would say is focus on that. Yeah. Focus on your value creation, where you're going to deliver the most value, and then be brutal about everything else.
Oh, fair point. If someone approached you for an investment into their business, what would be sort of the top maybe 2 or 3 things that you would sort of look for, so what would be the top 3 things?
Sure. So I think firstly, I would say, so I'm going to put aside, let's just say it's in the telecoms and tech space, because that's where obviously I invest, right?
Do you invest anything else? Like, let's just say it was like a random restaurant, for example.
No.
So you have no interest in
No interest, not. Okay. I don't care if it's going to make me £1 million. If it's not in my sector, I don't care. Okay. Yeah, because it's all about focus, right? Yeah. So firstly, I really want to get to know the founder. And that's a slow process. Okay. Not going to make that decision easily. I really want to get to know that person. What drives them? What's their background? What's their motivation? Why do they want to do this? What are they going to be like when the shit hits the fan, right?
Which it will, at one point.
And it will, right? Are they going to crack, right? All of those things, really get to know them, yeah? Because that is where your biggest risk is, yeah? Is in that individual. Yeah. Do they have the vision, and can they execute? And when things get tough, am I going to need to manage that person? I don't want to be managing founders, right? Founders need to be they need to have iron skin, right? They need to be able to break through walls. So the biggest thing I focus on is founder risk. Yeah. Second is the business opportunity, of course, is really important. So what's the size of the pie here? How big could this be? What's the vision here? And sometimes the founder may not know that, right? Because they too early, they don't understand the space, they're young, blah, blah, blah. So that's where my experience of the sector, that's why I only invest in businesses in this sector, because I know it. And I know how big something could be, right? And then I guess third, I would look at the kind of due diligence side of things. So it'll be, this is where my analytical side of things will come in, is there any skeletons in the closet in the business, all that kind of stuff. Looking at the business IP, who owns it, they've got trademarks, all that kind of stuff. So that'll come in that next phase. So 2 key things though, founder and business opportunity.
Out of all your investments, which has been the most fruitful?
I'd say definitely the OcuShield so far.
Okay.
So as a kind of value creation, I kind of judge it on value creation. So I've, multiple times over increased the value of my return there. So in terms of value creation from an investment point of view, that's my biggest kind of win. My own personal ones, obviously my reseller business still delivers me a good return. So it's a bit of a mix in that sense. But I've got my sustainable technology business, Click, is well on its way to start delivering some good returns in the near future. Nolii is still early, so that's going to be an interesting one because we're going to really push on that in the next kind of couple of months and really see how we can take it to that first investment raise. So that's the kind of plan there. I think there's a good mix of them at the moment, but I think the true test will be in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
What value has been created? That'll be good. It'd be good to kind of get that time machine, isn't it? Go into the future. Yeah.
What keeps you motivated? Because business is very demanding. It's a very demanding role where especially for yourself. Like I said, you've got your hands in many different pies. What enables you to sort of get up and show up? Is there any driving factor that kind of keeps you driving?
I love doing cool stuff. Yeah. So I love doing things that are different, right? I'm a creative, analytical creative at that. But I love doing new things. So that's obviously tickles my fancy every day. I love a deal. Yeah. So I'm a sales guy. So getting that deal is great. I think I'm focused now on value creation, right? So I want to maximize the size of my pie, of my fund, almost of my investments, and I've got a number that I want to hit, in the next 4 or 5 years that I want to create, and that's my kind of my North Star at the moment. So it's all about growing that number and maximizing the value of that number. And then, after that, it's about, I really want to just, and along that journey, inspire others, do all those things as well. Those things are really important to me. To help, support. I mentor a number of founders, things like that. So I'm always someone that wants to be able to give back to the ecosystem as well, because like I've indicated, I've learned the hard way. And I don't want other people to have to learn the hard way.
With me, I like sort of putting my goals down and being quite specific with my goals. Would you say that's a good thing? Are you the same, or are you sort of, you have a goal in mind, or are you sort of written, this is like quite specific, quite?
Yeah, I don't have that kind of written goals down, that kind of thing. But I've got goals for what I want to do with the businesses, and I've got a financial goal that I want to get to. So that's my driver. I guess I'm probably not one to kind of do the breakdown of that. But everyone's different, right? Everyone is different, operates in a different way. I'm not one to do that, but everyone to their own, right? People are a lot more methodical about these things, and that helps them. So whatever helps you is I would say is the best way of doing it.
Who inspires you in business?
Who inspires me? I think I think in the tech arena and all of that, in design, obviously the obvious people like Steve Jobs and people like that come to mind. So they're a real inspiration. I think from a UK business point of view, I was always a big Peter Jones fan. So going on Dragon's Den was quite cool. Even Tej was really cool. So those guys in the kind of business world, they're quite cool. But I think on the other hand, my parents, like my mom coming here from Uganda, setting everything up, they gave us this chance, they really inspire me. And then I've just got friends, mentors, people in and around me that are special in their own ways, in various sectors. And I think it's about getting that energy from lots of people, not just one. So I still love to watch, today on YouTube, I got somehow it popped up Steve Jobs something or another,
and
it was nice to like. I was like, yeah, it gave me a little boost, right?
Okay.
But then I like to get up close and personal more with people that inspire me, like a bit more time with them, because otherwise I can't. Obviously, like, you can't. It's a YouTube video, right? Whereas like
engage.
whereas if I can sit down with someone who really inspires me,
Yeah.
that's a whole different ball game. So it's getting that nice mix, I think, is really important, of like the YouTube, then the kind of like Dragon's Den, and then getting like hands-on time with people.
Yeah, I think even for myself, like since I've started this podcast, I've met so many different people who are successful in their own way, and I always pick out like one or two things from each individual person. Some things that they've maybe have said, or even the way they conduct themselves, or even the environment. Like this environment will be completely different from like someone else that I've interviewed, and I think if anyone is thinking about starting a podcast, I'd highly recommend it, because you get to meet so many different people, and you can get inspired from different things that you'd least expect. So I completely understand that. And you mentioned Dragon's Den.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because I know we're coming to the sort of end of the podcast. So how was it? How was your sort of experience on? Because you're an investor.
Yeah.
You've gone to Dragon's Den, I'm assuming, for investment. Yeah. You obviously know what type of questions they're going to ask, what things that they're going to look for.
Yeah.
So how was your experience? Was it what you expected it to be?
Yeah, firstly, it was a great experience. So actually, it films next week, so I can't talk too much about it. But what I would say is a great experience. It's like going on it. Obviously, like I love Peter Jones, right? I think he's just coming from a telecoms world and tech world. He was like, I still remember going in university. I read his book and all that stuff. So that was great, just meeting him and stuff. But I think once you get in there, it's another pitch.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in the zone, right?
Yeah.
And it was in September that we actually pitched, and we're now in June, right? So
So
it's been 9 months since
so you
then.
have to keep quiet.
To keep quiet, yeah, exactly. So all I would say for anyone, if you have a business that is scaling and like is a viable business, Dragon's Den is a great opportunity. I mean, where do you get that level of PR, that level of brand awareness? I mean, on BBC Two, they used to get 15 million people that would watch an average episode over a 30-day period. 10 or 15 million, I can't remember the exact stats. It's now gone on to BBC One, where it's in prime time. Yeah. I reckon it'll be close to 20 million people. 20 million people going to watch your brand and buy into your brand. Obviously, there's a risk element there, because if you screw it up, right, then it could be massively detrimental to your brand, right, and your investment process. So there was a risk, but you got to weigh up that risk, right? And so I would say, if you have a business that is working well, it's a really good time to take it on there, because at the end of the day, they're investors, right?
But I would say, even if you didn't get the investment, like you said, you got so much free marketing out of it. You've got so many millions of people, as you said. And I've always said this as well, like even with The Apprentice. Yeah. I'd love to go into The Apprentice, but I wouldn't want to win, because I wouldn't really want to get that investment from Sugar and sort of have that 50%. Yeah. Because I don't think my heart would be if I was 50% with someone. Yeah. But I'll still go on it, just purely down for sort of the exposure that I'd be getting as an individual. Yeah. It would build my personal brand. So like you said, I would always recommend someone just to go on it, just purely for the free marketing.
Yeah, it's a great experience, right? As well, like it's.
So, what's next in the pipeline for you, or are you still sort of quite strong on this? Is it Nolii that you're working on, or what business was it? Can you say that? For Dragon's Den?
Yeah, no, that was OkiShield.
Oh, okay.
It was OkiShield, yeah. So, so, I mean, for me now, the next 12 months are just growing the portfolio. So, Nolii, we're looking to do a fundraise later on this year, really grow the revenue in that brand, and then look to get some money in to really kind of propel it to that next level. Oki Shield, likewise, continue that growth. Click, again, continue the growth. Our reseller business, we're trying to move much more into the B2B space. So again, growth and value creation. So those are my focuses. It's all about value creation. It's all about growth, just staying focused as well. I think even myself, I've been sometimes scattergun in my approach, and I want to be more focused, have a good balance in life, spend more time with family. I want to have a couple of holidays a year. I don't normally get my holidays. Saturday, Sundays off, as much as I can. I've got 2 young kids. So, it's things like that, really important as well. So, I think your success shouldn't just be financial, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't. That's not what you're here for, right? In this world, you're here to, it's your family is the most important thing, I think.
Perfect. If people wanted to sort of reach out to you online, where can they reach out to you?
So LinkedIn, just search for my name. I'm always doing thought leadership stuff around tech and design and all kinds of stuff on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So
cool.
more longer form content. So 400 words, something like that.
Oh, wow.
But something where you can learn a bit more about design or the processes I go through and things like that.
Okay.
Instagram, I'm actually going to reboot it in the next couple of weeks, but I want that to be a bit more kind of what's in my mind, inspiration, our process again, bit shorter form kind of content. So definitely at Asad Hamir, and then my brand, so Nolii, Hello Click, Oki Shield,
Perfect. Right, guys, that's it for this episode, and on to the next.